Hello, boys and girls. Got another video for you fine folks on the internet today. Another installment in the Matthew Buckley Talks music series. Today we're looking at another mid-60s pop and rock album. This one for today is I'm a Fool by Dino, Desi, and Billy. Issued on Reprise Records in September of 1965 on mono vinyl in the US, Germany, Canada, Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela, and pressed in stereo in the United States, Canada, and Germany. So a little SparkNotes bio for anyone who's not familiar. Dino, Desi, and Billy was a teenage pop trio in the 1960s consisting of affluent young men with various connections in the industry. Dino Martin, son of popular singer Dean Martin, Desi Arnaz Jr., son of popular actor Desi Arnaz, and Billy Hinchke, son of real estate agents. The three would meet while attending the Good Shepherd Catholic School in Beverly Hills, becoming friends and finding common musical interest. And after deciding that they wanted to start a band, they would famously audition for Frank Sinatra himself, being signed to his record label, Reprise Records, the very same label which Dino's father, Dean Martin, was signed. And in spite of the fact that the boys, and I do mean boys, at the time that they were getting their act together, Billy and Dino were both 14 years old, and Desi Jr. was 12, so they were definitely just kids. And even though they were all decently competent enough musicians, Desi Jr. on drums, Dino on bass guitar, and Billy on lead guitar, in spite of the fact that they could actually play, the tracking sessions featured LA session musicians from the Wrecking Crew, such as Earl Palmer, Carol Kaye, Ray Pullman, Glenn Campbell, and the like. And this first record would be produced by esteemed singer and songwriter Lee Hazelwood. So they definitely had a lot of the cream of the crop in the LA session world behind them for this record. Side A opens with Not the Lovin' Kind, which was written by album producer Lee Hazelwood and co-arranged by famed LA session muso Jack Nietzsche. Issued as the third 45 RPM single by Dino, Desi, and Billy, the same month as the album. Peaking at number 25 on the US Billboard singles charts. It starts with a very jangly guitar sound, and this song capitalizes, and a lot of this album capitalizes on a very Byrds-influenced folk rock styling that was definitely very popular at this point in the mid-60s. But this song is, a very straightforward song, both musically and lyrically. The boys sing about being the kind of guy, not being the kind of guy to be loving and affectionate, advising the listener to not waste their tears or time on them, and to go and find someone else to try to love. It's it's an alright. It's a strong enough song, and it's a good choice to open the album, in my opinion. The next track is a cover of I Can't Get No Satisfaction, originally by the Rolling Stones, written by the Mick Jagger and Keith Richards songwriting team. This is a pretty by-the-numbers cover, all things considered, but it's still a lot of fun. The instrumentation has a whole lot of swing, and the boys sing with a ton of energy. They really do a good job vocally. Although it is kind of strange to hear teenagers sing the line about how the guy on the TV can't be a man because he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as them. It's a solid, faithful rocking cover. And the next track is a cover of Mr. Tambourine Man. originally written by Bob Dylan, but popularized by the Byrds as part of the big folk rock boom that they ignited with their cover of Mr. Tambourine Man. This cover is certainly curtailed much closer to that second arrangement that the Byrds did, as they infamously shortened the song from about 5.5 minutes to just over 2 minutes. And that's just where this cover here clocks at, so it's that same abridged arrangement. But that being said, they definitely do a fine job. It's a serviceable cover, if not great. You know, it's just that nothing about it particularly sticks out. But there's of course plenty more of that jangly folk rock guitar. You know, got to keep up with that sound, especially on a Byrds cover. Basically, you know, emulating Roger McGuinn's 12-string Rickenbacker sound. They do an alright job, you know. Again, it's a good cover, but nothing crazy to write home about. The following track, I'm a Fool, the title track, was written by guitarist Joey Cooper, and interestingly enough, at least I find this interesting, written by Joey Cooper and Elvis Presley's longtime driver and bodyguard and confidant, Red West. The song was issued as the second 45 RPM single by Dino, Desi, and Billy in May of 1965. And the song was actually a cover, as it was first issued in late 1964 as a 45 RPM single by Colorado surf rock group The Astronauts. It's a fun song with swing and rhythm, and the boys singing about being mistreated by a girl who makes them feel like a fool, wishing they could get her off their mind. I've been there. Listening to this song, honestly, I can almost imagine it being performed by the Archies. You know, it's got that kind of carefree, lilting, keyboard-heavy sound. There is a pretty wild guitar solo in the song as well. You know, nothing technically stunning, but definitely fun and lively bit of guitar. And the next track is a cover of Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. Much to my surprise, it's when I first heard this record, it's actually not abridged at all. I've heard covers of Like a Rolling Stone that, much like the Byrds arrangement of Mr. Tambourine Man, are, you know, excise entire sections of the lyrics or choruses, you know, so it's surprising to me that this is the basically full-length arrangement of the song, clocking in at about 5.5 minutes, so, you know, only a little less than a minute shorter than Dylan's original version, so credit to these boys there. It does sound strange, I will say, with in this arrangement or mix, the organ is mixed much lower, or just, you know, not arranged to play as much, so it kind of throws me off, but the bass does. The bass guitar sounds so much more significant. It definitely gives the song a different face, even if it's still firmly rooted in the same folk rock context. We of course get splashes of harmonica wailing throughout the song, but again, somewhat lower in the mix. And the boys do a fine job with the song vocally, but they don't come anywhere close to the sneer and attitude that the song truly demands. You can tell they're taking it seriously, but they just don't come off quite as bitter as I think you need to truly do this song justice. But that said, it's a fine cover, you know, good enough, and it's got plenty of energy and swing. It's a great way to end side A. And let me get a sip of tea here. Got more that good old lemon stuff. It's actually both the Meyer lemon and the lemon ginger combining. for any of you curious at home. Side B opens with The Rebel Kind, another original for the group, penned by album producer Lee Hazelwood, co-arranged by guitarist Billy Strange. The song would be issued as the fourth Dino, Desi, and Billy 45 RPM single in November of 1965, a couple months after the album here. It opens with a very distinct guitar riff, and the song quickly establishes itself as a real rockin' shuffle. And the boys sing about being social outsiders, being a part of some sort of counterculture, and about wearing tight clothes. It's a fun youth anthem, all things considered, even if it does kind of celebrate social division, which is strange to me, in a way. But the next track is a cover of Chimes of Freedom, originally written by Bob Dylan, but also one of the many Dylan songs popularized by the Byrds. This cover, once again, leans much more heavily towards the Byrds arrangement, and was also issued as the B-side of the trio's third 45 RPM single in September, same month as this album was released. All things considered, this is a fine and serviceable cover, but maybe because this is one of my favorite Dylan songs, one of my personal favorite Dylan songs, the cover itself doesn't really do much for me here. It's just missing a big something, and it's hard to put my finger on it. The boys sing well. I'm not sure their voices were exactly right for this particular song, though. The instrumentation is solid. There's just something that isn't there to make this a great cover, when it's just an alright cover. And the next track, however, It Ain't Me, Babe, is another Dylan song, and this one works for me much more, honestly, than most of the other Dylan covers on the album. Hearing the boys sing about how they won't be the perfect love the listener has been looking for, I can believe them. It comes across, and the feeling works. The guitar work in this track is also standout, among the most well executed on the album in my opinion. Not flashy at all, but precise and delicate without feeling weak or frail. Definitely one of the album's strongest covers, I'd say. The next track, Boo Hoo Hoo, parenthetical, I Can Tell, was written by guitarist Joey Cooper. This song has, in my opinion, a great groove. It swings real hard. The boys sing about how they can tell their girl is seeing someone else, and they beg her not to leave. I especially like the line, I can tell by the look in your eyes that someone is telling you lies. That's a good line. The guitar in this track is somewhat garagey as well in its sound. There's a surprising amount of fuzz throughout. It's easily one of the strongest and most interesting tracks on the album, in my opinion. Another sip of tea there. The next track, So Many Ways, was another co-write between guitarist Joey Cooper and Elvis's longtime right-hand man, Red West. Issued as the B-side of Dino, Desi, and Billy's second 45 RPM single in May of 1965. The song has a great rhythm. It's another groovy kind of shuffle with fun vocal interludes where the instrumentation pulls back for a few moments while the boys sing, you know, I love the way you look, I love the way you talk, I love the way you love. It's fun stuff. Probably the album's most light-hearted song, just a simple and carefree declaration of adoration and affection. It's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album, a real highlight. And the following track, Seventh Son, is actually a cover by from blues legend Willie Dixon. And this is one of the most fun, musically speaking. One of the musically most fun songs on the album. We have dirty guitar licks and powerful drumming. And the boys do a great job on vocals for the track as well, bringing a heaping helping of very lively energy. The band really cooks during a couple short instrumental interludes, and during the outro, the boys ramble amongst themselves while the band just cuts loose. As I've said throughout this video, it's great fun. And with that, we end side B. So, final thoughts. The word of the day for this album and this video is fun, and rightly so. These boys were just that. Boys having fun. You know, we have a selection of cover songs, mostly from the popular folk rock idiom, and a handful of original songs crafted by the production team, mostly Joey Cooper as well. Joey Cooper composed songs. And in my opinion, we also get a Dynamite debut full-length album. There's a couple songs where, you know, the boys really shine. Of course, to the opposite of that, in my opinion, there's a couple tracks where the very apparent youthfulness of the boys is something of a detriment to the authenticity of their delivery. You know, songs such as Like a Rolling Stone and Chimes of Freedom almost have to come from a certain place to achieve their full potential and believability, and that isn't the same place that songs like So Many Ways and Not the Lovin' Kind come from. It would be easy to make calls of nepotism on the surface, you know, looking at the story, these affluent teenagers being given so much from their fathers and their fathers' friends in the industry. But to listen to the record is proof of the legitimacy that these boys had as performers, even in their tender teenage years. And they definitely brought a great deal of believability to songs like, you know, The Rebel Kind, and even covers like It Ain't Me, Babe. You know, you can believe them when you hear them sing that. So there's a lot of legitimate talent in this record, and even though they didn't play the instruments themselves on the record, they would, you know, at least when they went on tour, they would be able to perform themselves. So that's good. And they actually had extensive connections as well with that. They would tour with the Beach Boys, and that would become something of an important connection for Billy Hinchke in particular, as his sister, Annie, would wind up marrying Carl Wilson of the Beach Boys. So that would prove to be a lifelong connection for him. There's definitely a whole lot of interesting, you know, honestly, it's almost as interesting as the music itself is the sheer number of connections that Dino, Desi, and Billy had. It really is fascinating the more you learn about them. But a little closer look at the cover for you fine folks here. You know, interesting typeset with the title there. I like the way, you know, the text is laid out. And you just have a very nice shot of the boys sitting on some steps. You know, just looking sharp, looking classy. Back cover has some liner notes about the boys and their origins and auditioning for Sinatra. And another this time black and white portrait of the boys. It's good stuff. Nothing too wild. Your typical teen fare. The record itself is just on the multicolored Reprise label. Again, nothing too crazy. This is a mono copy here. So again, you know, this certainly isn't, you know, earth-shattering music, but it's fun, and I think sometimes people forget that's part of what music is supposed to be. So these boys definitely nailed it there. All things considered, I wouldn't hesitate to rate this record a 7 out of 10, honestly. It's again, not revelatory, but it gets the job done. These three guys, these three boys, definitely had something working, and they kept it working for a few more years. And I guess we'll get more into that in a future review. So let me know, for now, I've rambled for about 20 or so minutes, let me know in the comments down below. Are you familiar with this particular album, I'm a Fool, or any of the concurrent singles by Dino, Desi, and Billy? Are you familiar with Dino, Desi, and Billy? I'm sure most of you have at least heard of two of their familial connections. And I mean, shoot, even with, Billy Hinchke's connection to the Beach Boys, that's, again, they're all very close to well-known names. So, yeah, let me know in the comments down below any anecdotes you may have, if you're, familiar with them, if you've seen them in concert, if you have their records, or if you, didn't know that, Dean Martin had a son. He actually has two sons in the music business. There's Ricky Martin, who also made albums in the periphery of Beach Boy production and involvement. So that's potentially something to discuss in a further installment as well. But anyways, as I said, let me know anything you got to say down below. I appreciate any and all viewership. Keep tuning in. I'll try to keep it coming at you. This has been Matthew Buckley Talks Music with I'm a Fool by Dino, Desi, and Billy. Music is the best.